And obviously, as all big plans on this thing start, it's going to go with chain this thing down. Right here, got the stopwatch, so I'm going to start this and we'll see how long it takes me to get this thing all torn down. So that is the full teardown. As you can see, the bike is actually pretty much all stripped down, so 45 minutes. I mean, not bad, I guess. Big plans can now commence with sanding and everything, so that kind of exposes one of them for this thing. Some new paint. So I'm going to be pulling the motor out of this thing, so that should be a pretty big hint right there. So it shouldn't be too bad. I'll just loosen the 4 bolts, pull this out, so it should be pretty good. I just got the front rack off. Now I'm just going to get to pulling this motor out. So I've got the 12 mil right here, just 4 bolts under there. So I'm going to loosen those, and then we should be able to get this motor out tonight. I got all the bolts taken off right there. Alright, so here we go, taking the stock MBX-10 motor off. Alright, so here it is, motor is out of the bike. Now that the motor's out, this actually looks like a very big space, so I'm just going to sit here and ponder for a bit, and we'll see what I decide to do next. It's about 12:15, so I'm just going to call it a night. I've just been mocking this thing up, and I've got it mocked up pretty much where it's going to go. However, right where the engine sits currently, I've gotten the clutch lined up where it's like completely even with the chain. However, since this motor is like set up different and stuff, the clutch has been set forwards, so my chain actually doesn't reach. I like mocked this up with the chain to make sure the chain was straight, and it turned out the chain is actually too short now. So I'm planning on just pushing the motor backwards, which due to that little oil drain plug, it's going to require me to have to cut some out from this piece of the frame right here. I'll just take the angle grinder and kind of notch it out a little bit. But for now, the plan is for tomorrow, get this whole thing sanded down and everything and prepped for paint. So yeah, that's it for tonight, guys. I'll see you in the morning. Okay, so it is the next day now, and as you can see, just got back from a little run to Lowe's. So I got all of my assorted paints in here. I got a pack of 400 grit sandpaper just to do any like fine sanding. But to start off with actually getting this paint off, which by the way, let's just get some final shots of this thing in mint and white. It looks so good, but we're going for a new color here. A couple days ago, like actually yesterday, went to Harbor Freight, got this polisher slash sander thingy from Harbor Freight. So I've never really used one of these before. I don't really know how to use them or whatever. So this is a 120 grit one. I'm just gonna try this out and see if it like does good on the bike. I'm not really sure how well it'll do. Looking at how big it is, that's a 7-inch disc, and the frame is like kind of small. So we'll just see. I'll get started on this. Okay, so for the remainder of these little clips here, I'm just gonna talk over them because there's some stuff that I kind of want to explain right now that I didn't explain at that time just because I didn't really know about it or whatever until after the fact. So right here we got some footage of when I was removing the governor on the 196cc Hisun, and big thing here, I was not aware of the fact that the governor is like a vital part of the throttle linkage. These like Hisun motors or just any 6.5 horse motor, the way the whole throttle linkage works, the governor actually puts tension on the throttle, so when you let off, the governor is what's actually like allowing the throttle to close. So here when I removed the governor, I didn't even actually remove it because I couldn't get the clip out to actually take off the gear. I basically just took off the piece of plastic that actually enables the governor to like govern the engine. So that's pretty much all I did, but either way, it disabled the governor from working. And a big part of that was the fact that that also disabled my throttle from closing. Alright, so next here, I'm just going to put up some clips of some other work that I was doing. I had to drill out holes for the new engine. I had to carve out part of the frame to allow for the oil drain plug, because that part actually kind of stuck out from the motor. So that was like really a pain. That was probably one of my least favorite parts of doing this whole swap. Drilling the engine mounting holes, gonna be honest, to this point now, this footage is from 2 or 3 months ago, a really long time ago. I still have not drilled out that third hole. I'll show some footage of it. There's one hole that I could not drill out. It was just a pain. If I really wanted to do it, I'd just have to take a rotary tool and for an hour just carve it out. Okay, so moving on. Here's some clips of actually painting. I know, these clips are horrible. I was literally just holding up a Harbor Freight light and putting the camera around. I tried to play with the camera settings to get it to look better, but it did not turn out well. So, you know, some fenders painted gray, frame is painted purple. This frame, I mean, I'm going to be honest, it came out like almost immaculate. The satin clear coat finish on it came out great. Like, no drips on it, like for a spray paint job, and the prep work on it, the sanding and stuff, it all came out like almost flawless. There were obviously some rough patches where I didn't go over the sandpaper enough, but this was easily like my best paint job. Like, of all the other two that I did were horrible. Like, this one, just amazing. So right here, the bike was all put together. It was ready to go. After I finished painting and the motor was in and stuff, I was just so excited to ride the bike. I just really wanted to go out and ride it. Like, I really wasn't thinking at this point. I was just, you know, the bike had been taken apart for like a month or so. I just wanted to have it together. I wanted to ride it. The bike looked great. I was like, you know, let's go. So this was off camera. I had stopped filming after the bike was actually like put together. I didn't film for a little while, but basically one day pulled out the camera. I was like, okay, I'm ready to go ride this thing. Handlebars were thrown on. I didn't even put the fenders on. That's how much I wanted to ride this thing. I had the essentials on. Throttle, brakes, engine bolts were tightened down, chain was on, just all the stuff like that, like the ignition, all that stuff was set up. So I go out, pull, like, I just set everything up to start the bike. I pulled the string, or the starter or whatever, bike starts, and just after like a split second, bike just goes off. As I explained earlier with the governor linkage, that was why that was important. Bike was at 3/4 throttle, but I didn't know that. So bike starts going. I guess I was leaned off to the left a little bit because the bike essentially like spun left a bit, you know. I was on the sidewalk in front of my house. The bike turned kind of towards the house and the rocks and stuff in the front yard. And there's some like big like bouldery rocks there. So anyway, I sit there. I'm on the brake. I'm freaking out by now, and obviously I'd pulled it with my right hand. I have my left hand on the brakes. As soon as the bike goes, I just grabbed for the handlebars to not let the bike go. And unluckily enough, or unfortunately, my right hand grabbed like the outside of the handlebar, and like at this point I knew my mistake. I've watched a Cars and Cameras video on removing the governors on motors like this, and they mentioned that you need to put tension on the throttle, but I don't know why, but since I saw that my throttle was like where the cable was connecting to, you know, it was like closed and stuff, I thought it was fine. I later realized that just because that was in the correct position did not mean that the rest of the whole throttle linkage was in the correct position, because that's a whole complicated system. I didn't know that, you know, how all that stuff worked. So basically held the bike there 10 to 15 seconds, doing a huge burnout. My brakes are getting roasted just as I'm holding them. They're burning away, so wheel speed is obviously going up. I'm holding onto the outside of the handlebar, so my thumb could not reach the kill switch, and I couldn't move my hand over from the handlebar to hit the kill switch, because obviously if I even just let go for a split second, the bike was going to go. So I was even trying to hit it with like my helmet and stuff, just could not reach the kill switch, and at this point, brakes were pretty much gone. The bike was just going to go, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I tried to go for it, took my hand off the handlebar for just a split second to go for the kill switch, but as soon as I did it, bike went forward just enough so that my hand didn't reach it, looped the bike. Bike just hits a wheelie, just goes flying forwards and just flips right into the rocks. the back of the frame got scratched up and stuff, and I guess kind of thankfully the bike rolled and went to the right side of the bike. If it had gone to the left, it would have hit the clutch and stuff, which is a different story because my clutch was blowing after that too. Probably due to doing the huge burnout with the brakes, it probably toasted my clutch. That's why I needed a new one. But threw the bike onto the right side. It ripped the throttle grip just a little bit. Minor thing, doesn't matter. It bent the handlebar, which I'm kind of mad about because whenever you look, it doesn't look that major. It's just a slight bend in it, but whenever I look at the bike from a certain angle, I can just see that the throttle side of the handlebars is curved downwards and the other side is like at the correct. And it kind of makes me mad about it, but you know, what are you going to do? It happened. I'm not going to lie, I was extremely devastated when this happened. Like, I was so, like, emotionally pained when this happened. I was like, it's over. Like, my seat was all screwed up because the bike landed in the rock. So, all the back of the bike that looped onto the ground, all scratched up. So, like, the back of the seat is torn up and stuff. When, like, the handlebars hit and those were bent, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, for a second, I just let the bike sit there and there was fuel pouring out. And the more I work on the bike, the more I see damage. Like, the bottom of the starter cover is punched in and stuff from, like, flipping over and hitting rocks. But, I mean, the bike is fine overall. It's all just good stuff. I'm okay, so it was good. It kind of sucks that happened to the bike, because the seats for that are $80, handlebars are $50, and obviously I'm not going to spend that money, so it's going to stay broken, which is pretty unfortunate. But that's that, and I had PTSD for like a while on this. Like, after I kind of figured out the problem and stuff, I didn't even want to sit on the bike and try to start it because I was so scared out of my mind of that thing. Thankfully now the problem is all resolved. Just to give you a little bit of a timeline, the last clip that you saw, that was when I stopped filming. The looping the bike, I think it happened the next day, or just the same day right after that. I think it was the day after. Then from there, about a month, maybe a month and a half went by before I got the new clutch because after I finally got over my fear of the bike, I finally started trying to actually work on it. I figured out the throttle system. I basically bypassed the whole governor linkage because I was just tired of it. Basically the way it worked was your cable connected to an arm. That arm was solid linked onto the governor linkage with like a spring and stuff. The governor linkage was obviously connected to the governor. Then from the governor linkage, which is basically just an arm, which is connected in two parts. One is obviously, like I said, the part where the cable is connected to and it pulls on it. And then the other is the end of the governor, or the governor arm that actually links to the carb. So, when I thought that my throttle was closed because where the cable it connected to is closed, it really wasn't, because what's actually controlling the carb is the governor arm. So I couldn't see the governor arm. It's under the gas tank. So basically the governor arm, it was pushing the carb all the way open, even though the actual throttle was closed. They're connected with a spring, so basically the governor arm can do whatever it wants, no matter what the actual throttle is doing. So I basically bypassed the whole system. I used one of the solid pieces of metal rod that was already in the throttle. I cut it in half and I bent it. I just deleted the whole governor linkage and took it out. I basically just used the metal rod that was already meant to connect to the carb, and instead of connecting it to the governor linkage, I just put one end on the carb and put one end on the throttle arm that's actually connected to the cable. So now it is a solid link between my throttle cable and the throttle arm and the carb. So whatever I see the arm is doing, which I can see visibly, is what the carb is doing as well, which is super nice because I can tell if something's getting stuck or whatever. I can visibly see it easily. Super nice. I got that figured out. Then I obviously tried to start it, and it just wouldn't start. It would make this. It would sometimes start for a little bit, and then it would just make a grinding noise. It was the clutch engaging, and then it would die. Obviously, it would kill itself, and I thought the motor was idling too high, but I would try and idle it down right to where it was just about to die, and the clutch was still grabbing. So essentially my clutch was blown. Not really sure what was wrong with it. Probably messed up one of the springs because the clutch was just engaging way too early. It was probably engaging at like some super low RPM, like 700, 600 or something. So it was just killing the bike. I didn't get the new clutch for a super long time. Like I said, month and a half or something. Then I finally ordered like an $18 Amazon clutch. That is the clutch you will see in the clutch install video. It will come after this. because this video is already pretty long. But got that new clutch, super excited for it. It had been like 6 weeks, the bike was just sitting, it was broken, I was scared of it. It was just a piece, I hated it, I had worked so hard for nothing. And I felt like I had ruined it, because I looped in stuff, I hated myself. But finally got the new clutch, I put it on. And in that clutch install video, you will see the footage of me first riding it, and that was just the moment when I just reconnected with the bike. Like, it had been so long, bike had been broken, I looped it and stuff, like, I was so mad at myself for it. I just felt like the bike was ruined and stuff, but just going for that first ride, obviously, you guys are gonna see, like, I was stoked on it. Like, I just fell in love with the bike again. Like, I was so happy in that moment when the bike was working. Like, none of that stuff even mattered to me. Like, little bent handlebar, scratch my paint, you know, the seat and whatever. I mean, obviously I'm still a little bit disappointed because that paint job was immaculate, so those little scratches still kind of hurt me, but it was just, all that went away